You can't have missed a veritable deluge of Windows Phone 7 phones getting launched a week ago. Many are specific to the American and other markets, but I'd like to mention a few that caught my eye. Look to your own country's market for details of other Windows Phone 7 devices. The HTC Hd7 is effectively the Windows Phone 7 version of their HD2 and Desire HD, with 4.3-inch screen and 1 GHz CPU, plus the usual GPS, Wi-Fi, 5-megapixel camera and HD video recording. As a Windows Phone 7 device, there's Netflix, T-Mobile TV, Slacker Radio, Xbox Live and Zune software, plus 16 GB of built-in storage. Also from HTC is the 7 Mozart with 3.7-inch LCD screen, 1 GHz processor, 8 GB of built-in storage, all housed in an aluminium unibody case. And for camera fans, and unusually for HTC, there's a Xenon flash for the camera. For both the USA and apparently for Europe is the monster HTC 7 Pro, a definite competitor to the Nokia E7. The 7 Pro's screen slides out and then tilts, as you can see here, plus the usual 1 gig CPU, 5-megapixel camera, plus 720p video, 3.6-inch WVGA screen, and like the Nokia E7, it too gets 16 gig of storage built in. When you get your hands on with the Nokia X302 Touch and type, your first reaction will be, this is a slice of genius. Why the heck hasn't someone done this before? To have the facility of a numeric T9 keypad plus a proper touchscreen for moving around the interface and for interacting with the likes of web pages is a fascinating prospect, not least because Nokia has packaged it in a stunningly small and thin, a 77 grams in weight, only 45 cubic centimeters, really solid frame, aluminium battery cover, plus has thrown in hardware shortcut keys for music and messaging. Then there's a 3.5mm audio jack, micro USB data, a really loud mono speaker here in the base, Wi-Fi and a 5-megapixel EDOF camera. What's the catch? Well, this is no smartphone. It's firmly based in Nokia's feature phone Series 40 world despite all the touch additions, which means no multitasking and slow applications. For example, you're using the supplied Facebook icon to be deep in the Facebook mobile web page, checking a friends list, and you want to check your calendar to see if you're free on a particular night. You have to press the red hang up button as the only way to get back to the main menu, thus terminating the browser. You then check calendar. There we go. Yes, I'm free. And you then have to press the Facebook icon again, and anything between a minimum of 6 or 7 seconds and 20 seconds later, you're finally back at the Facebook homepage, not even where you were before you wanted to check something. Smart mobility, this isn't. And this single tasking mentality pervades Series 40. It's really seriously only meant for people who do far less with phones than you or I, which is not to say the X302 isn't capable for anyone who needs it to do a particular task. Quite apart from the web browser, there's full H.264 video playback, assuming you don't go crazy with bit rates and resolutions, a decent photos browser here, an editor, and a good music player. Photo quality is good. It's Nokia's EDOF technology, remember, but only in good light. This has a small lens and small sensor, and there's not even an LED flash. One oddity is that most photos end up being taken in portrait mode because of the way the phone is held and used.
And this is test footage on the Nokia X302 Touch and Type in weak winter sunshine here in the UK. VGA resolution, 15 frames a second, not too shabby, not too bad at all for such a small and sleek and cheap phone.
Quite apart from the Series 40 limitations, there are hard limits too. The display is only 2.4 inches and also built down to a price. It's TFT and is awful in sunlight. The touch sensitivity is resistive rather than capacitive, and the battery is a measly 860 milliamp hours. The keypad's pretty good. I thought I'd hate the way the hash and 0 keys were all translated upwards and to the right, but in practice it wasn't an issue. Having to use the touchscreen rather than the D-pad for cursor positioning is something you soon get used to too. Who's the X302 aimed at then? Well, teenagers it seems. Quite apart from coming in a range of eye-catching colours, there's Windows Messenger, Google Talk IM built in, plus the Guitar Hero 5 Java game shown here, and of course the obvious store for loading up new freebies and commercial games. And with this target market in mind, I pronounce myself unqualified to judge this device, the X302. I know my daughter pronounced it ugly, but then this is the dark grey version. I suspect the blue or pink one might have swayed her. In summary though, it's tiny, It's well built and well specified, and the touch and type form factor is definitely something I want to see more of. But at the end of the day, the X302 is probably not for you. Before I launch into the chosen 5, I need to let off a little steam. You see, I rattle through devices on the phone show, but most of them are lent to me by PR companies and suppliers, and they've all got to go back. I switch devices partly because of this and partly to try and keep things interesting for you. On the other hand, you're paying a lot of your own hard-earned money for a phone that you believe at the time suits your needs, and you rightly expect it to last you a year or so at least before you'll consider trading in or trading up. My top 5 guides are to inform those of you who are actually at that point of decision, not to try and make the rest of you feel awkward that you're using technology from last year. And most of all, I'm not trying to proselytise or get into platform wars. The media love to talk about, for example, an iPhone killer. I, for one, am not trying to convince you that one smartphone or platform is intrinsically so much better than your current one that you should up sticks and switch right away. A lot of getting the most out of your phone is what you put into it. The expertise in knowing your way around the applications you've added, the settings, the widgets, the customizations that you've ended up with through weeks or months of trial and error. There's no way that phone A being a little bit better than phone B can suddenly outweigh all that. To illustrate this with a practical example, take the numbers 2, 3 and 4 from the top 5 coming up. Each of them runs a totally different smartphone platform, has a totally different set of strengths, and if you use one of these devices or something similar and are fairly happy, then whatever you do, don't go and switch just because I made one of the other phones sound sexier. Use that investment of yours in knowledge and setup and apps to good effect, and sleep well at night. But for anyone who's either interested in my opinion or who finds themselves having to make a choice right now, here's my top 5 anyway, based on what's available in the UK right now. Oh, and as a footnote, it's worth mentioning that this top 5 is about to get hit by a deluge of devices. The HTC Desire HD, the Desire Z, the Nion Indestructible Motorola Defy, the Nokia E7, plus all the Windows Phone 7 powered phones from half a dozen manufacturers, all look likely to impose themselves on the top flight. But in the meantime, here we go. I'm not going to do the touch, non-touch split. Each phone has got to be good enough on its own merit in terms of functionality, build quality, ease of use and value. And yes, I said value. I'm factoring in price here. It's not all about getting the biggest, best and most expensive, you know. At number 5, the Nokia E72. Both RIM and Nokia have really explored this small-screened, front-facing, QWERTY form factor, but this is probably my favourite so far. Spoiled only by relatively low RAM and a lack of a podcasting client, the E72 wins for superlative battery life, great keyboard, loads of gadgets, free sat-nav, good camera, and it's impressively slight in the hand. At number 4, it's the Motorola Xt720. I had a real headache deciding on the best Android phone to include in this top 5, given that the likes of the Droid X is US only, and the Milestone 2 and Desire HD aren't yet available. But I plumped in the end for the Xt720. It has a super 8-megapixel stills camera with real xenon flash, plus the same great loud speaker as on the other Motorola devices. Feels great in the hand too, with rubberized back. Android is reasonably up to date with no annoying front-end shell add-on, and the only real downside of the device is the mirror finish screen, which is hard to read outside in the sun. But at number 3, the Apple iPhone 4. It retains an air of utter aloofness in terms of desirability, price and range of applications. It truly is the smartphone you can give to your mum and not worry about her calling you every 30 minutes, while also having the applications to let her do just about anything she might ever have heard of. And the games available are unparalleled. But slowly, just slowly, even the mighty iPhone interface is starting to look old-fashioned. With no home screen widgets, no notifications, the apps only grids are better classed as functional in late 2010 rather than elegant. At number 2, the Nokia N8 that I'm shooting this phone show on. Critics have slammed the fact that the Symbian interface hasn't changed enormously over the last few years, but I and 200 million other S60 and Symbian device owners don't really care. As I mentioned in my video review in show 122, there are loads of detailed improvements, plus a stunning leap in hardware from graphics processor to RAM to impressive display clarity in more or less all light conditions. From the HDMI output and Dolby Digital sound to the biggest USP, its 12-megapixel camera with professional sensor and xenon flash. Yes, there are a few minor software gotchas. The browser doesn't like multi-megabyte pages, for example. But hey, this is Nokia, unexpected. And the N8 should get a comprehensive firmware update program like the 5800 did, including a totally new browser by Christmas. And I'm expecting this device to just get better and better. But at number one, and hoping to surprise a few people, I'm putting in a smartphone that runs Android 2.1, has masses of RAM, a good 3.5-inch high-resolution OLED capacitive touchscreen, Wi-Fi and GPS, and that's only £99 all in. The orange-branded ZTE-built San Francisco. To put this into perspective, you could buy yourself one of these, and one for your partner, and two more for your two teenage kids, and then go out for a slap-up meal and a cinema trip, and still pay less than buying one iPhone 4. Is there a catch? Well, obviously it's orange only, you'd have to pay to have it unlocked. But this is the bargain of the year.